Remember Reagan's 11th commandment, thou shalt not speak ill of any fellow Republican? Well, in our fourth story tonight, it wasn't actually Reagan's, it was State Chairman Gaylord Parkinson's. And apparently Republicans no longer observe this commandment any more than they do some of the other ones. Later, congressional Republicans versus Michael Steele, but first, Rush versus Newt. On Meet the Press on Sunday, former House Speaker Gingrich joined a handful of other Republicans rejecting Limbaugh's wish for President Obama to fail. Yesterday, Limbaugh responded, playing two sound bites of Gingrich after a woman called in to complain about Gingrich, saying he was tired of talking about Gingrich and explaining that he doesn't need politicians to support him.
I wrote a book once, and one of the chapters is my success is not determined by who wins elections, because they come and go. They are fly-by-night operators, and most of them stand for nothing until they see a poll about what the American people want, and then they go out and try to say one way or another what the American people want while trying to falsely hold on to an ideology at the same time. And you can't count on them. You can't depend on them. They will sell you out. They will throw you overboard to save themselves faster, and they'll use you on their way up as often as they can at the same time.
The truly hilarious fact about Limbaugh's claim that he's tired of talking about Gingrich is that he not only took the call about Gingrich, yes, they screened the calls, but he also had two Gingrich sound bites already cut and ready to cue. That's entertainment. This is business. RNC Chairman Michael Steele is reportedly under fire now, not for his words. He has canceled recently scheduled interviews, but for his deeds. Namely, Steele gave the Republican House and Senate campaign committees $1 million each to help retire their debt, a crucial step if they want to attract strong candidates for 2010. The problem? According to the newspaper The Hill, previous RNC chairman Mike Duncan had checks 3 times that size written and ready to go until Steele came in and slashed them. Joining us once again is the former chairman of the DNC and a former presidential candidate himself, Howard Dean. Governor Dean, historically for Republicans, is this the standard cannibalism realignment after losing power? Is there something different going on here?
There's something different going on here. The Republicans are usually much more disciplined than we are. I got quite an interesting welcome to Washington when I came here, but we settled down and we did the work we had to do, and everybody worked together, and we were able to get huge majorities in the House and the Senate and elect a president. This is unusual for the Republicans. They really do usually keep their disagreements behind closed doors, and it's quite a soap opera, I must say.
Would Democrats prefer to have Republicans united around a polarizing figure like Rush Limbaugh, or does this suggest that perhaps there is room on the GOP side for something of a uniter who's more moderate?
Well, I think ultimately they're going to have to do what we did. We were really hampered by some of the things that we did in the 70s and so forth, and especially on the spending side. And we pulled together. We really, with a lot of people's help over a 15-year period, rebuilt the Democratic Party. They have to now face that. They are really tied to a small group of ideologues, and I would call Rush Limbaugh one of them, that simply is not way out of step with the average American. I mean, let's just suppose Rush Limbaugh really does have an audience of 20 million people. You can't get close to winning the presidency with 20 million voters. And for the 20 million people he has, he's alienating tons and tons of other middle-of-the-road moderate Americans who don't want to hear this stuff anymore. Barack Obama won because he said it was time for Americans to work together. The Republican Party hasn't yet figured that out, and they're going to have to do it in order to succeed. I think they will succeed. How fast? I don't know. I mean, things go in cycles. Eventually, somebody over there is going to figure out that you've got to talk to moderate voters again, but they haven't done it for a long time, and it doesn't look like they're getting ready to do it anytime soon.
Now, turning to Michael Steele, the RNC chair, can you explain the tensions between him, the National Party, and these congressional committees?
I can explain those tensions very well. Look, the congressional committees have a job to do, and that is elect more members right then and there. Look, and I don't want to presume to tell the Republicans how to run it, but when I came to the DNC, we had big problems. And my job was to restore the party in terms of making sure we had an operation in every single state that was competent, that we got along well with the state parties, that we had a database that worked. And that's what my money was supposed to go to, not just the immediacy of the election. So what Michael Steele's problem is, he's got the committees who want as much money because they're in debt and they need some help and they're facing the 2010 election, but he's got a long-term building job to do for the Republican Party. And the fights that I got into when I got here is I did not did not allow myself to be deterred from the long-term building job, because you got to keep your eye on the long-term ball if you want to succeed, not just the short-term election.
But if Michael Steele has now lost the elected Republicans, the Republicans on these congressional committees, and he's lost the confidence of the folks like Rush Limbaugh, what does he do now?
Well, I think he can recover, but he's got to start standing up to the right wing of the party. As long as the Republicans live in terror of the right wing, they're not going to win many elections.
What does that suggest then about Newt Gingrich? Is he positioning himself now to try to sort of occupy the middle by condemning Rush Limbaugh, by essentially taking advantage of the fact that there is this vacuum? Is that what Limbaugh's up to, you think?
I have no idea what Newt's up to. You know, he is a smart guy, but, you know, I'm looking at this to myself, and I'm thinking this is something I have never seen in the Republican Party. I mean, even after Goldwater, they were relatively disciplined about moving back to the middle, and Nixon finally triumphed. This is a spectacle I've never seen in my lifetime in the Republican Party. I can't wait to see what the next chapter is.
And then does it mean that strategically it makes a big difference that the Democratic Party can somehow figure a way to keep it going?
Well, that's right. I mean, they have to have two things. They have to be disciplined, well-organized, and rebuild their party, and we have to screw it up. And hopefully we won't screw it up. I think we talked in the previous segment, the health insurance bill is the key for us. If we pass health insurance pretty much the way the president wants, I think it's going to be very hard to beat us in 2010. That's the, you know, it's going to take a while to turn around the economy, and I think the average American is going to see the economy turn, but not improve dramatically by the elections in 2010. Health insurance they can see right away, and if they have the choice, and the insurance companies don't get to write the health insurance bill, I think that's going to reelect both the Congress, give us some more senators, and ultimately reelect the president. I think that's how important the health insurance bill is.
Howard Dean, former governor of Vermont and former head of the Democratic National Committee. And Governor Dean, thanks so much for giving us so much of your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.